Was there something in my walk, how I talk, giving off the wrong energy? Was there something in my stride, too much pride, telling you to back down? Slowly, slowly you became my enemy. But you can't seem to get enough of me. So if this is the last time, I guess I better make it worthwhile. Yeah, if this is the last time, I guess I better give it my all. So if this is the last time, I guess I better make it worthwhile. Yeah, if this is the last time, I guess I better give it my all. Was there something in my walk, how I talk, giving off the wrong energy? Was there something in my stride, too much pride, telling you to back down? Slowly, slowly you became my enemy. But you can't seem to get enough of me. So if this is the last time, I guess I better make it worthwhile. Yeah, if this is the last time, I guess I better give it my all. So if this is the last time, I guess I better make it worthwhile. Yeah, if this is the last time, I guess I better give it my all.
Welcome to tonight's coverage of Heat Race number 1 for the WINSTEL 400, the 10th running of this great race put on for the 10th year, a 400-mile brawl with $1,250 in prizes on the line over the course of Speed Weeks, all with no entry fee for any of the participants. Tonight, we have several looking to race their way into this event. Right now, only 4 drivers have locked their way into the event through qualifying and through promoters provisionals. So there's nearly 40 positions left to be accounted for between tonight's heat race, 2 heat races tomorrow night, and then the last chance qualifier on Sunday evening. They've just finished up qualifying. I'm here, Tyler Head, with Emily Howe. Emily, one of the 4 drivers locked in. Emily, one of 4 people breathing comfortably tonight, unlike everybody that's getting onto that grid right now.
Yeah, it's definitely a very, very stressful week. Very star-studded field here at Daytona. We've also had some pretty major changes in the week leading up to this race. If you joined us on Saturday and Sunday of last week for the shootout and qualifying, we were on a slightly different draft model, and this Tuesday we've received an update to it for this car, and it's changed things significantly for our for the racing. So we've had to redevelop the car, and it's pretty much a brand new slate for everybody racing tonight. This is the first time we've had this many cars on track, and we really don't know what to expect.
And there are some names that are participating in this heat, and obviously will be participating in the next 2 heats, who 5 days ago, 6 days ago, probably thought that they had quite an advantage coming into this race, having been able to participate in that shootout. Brandon McKissick's one of the ones in this race that falls into that category. Philip Snipes. That was wiped off the board with that update that you just referred to, because these cars race completely different, don't they?
Yeah, it's completely different. Going into it, we all thought that the WINSTEL guys who ran, all of the Speed Week stuff and previously the 3 or 4 seasons that we'd run here, now it's a new slate. Only about 10 drivers this week have tested the setup, and I believe for most of these drivers, it's their first time on track. I believe the only driver in here who has experience with this will be Philip Snipes and Jeffrey McClintock.
And all of that's from some of the testing to put together the setup. None of that's in true racing conditions, correct?
No, none of that was in true racing conditions. We've had about a maximum of 8 to 10 cars on track. And so we really don't know what the car is going to do or what the pack is going to look like with this many cars on track. It's going to be a learning experience for everybody. Everyone's on a clean slate right now.
Well, we're going to find out in a couple minutes just what these drivers are going to be dealing with. We know that it's a capable crop of competitors that have lined up today. At the head of the pack is Sean Butler. He took the pole for tonight's heat race. Lining up to his outside is going to be Connor Anton. Third is Garrett Lowe. Fourth, Alec Martinez. And Brandon McKissick is lining up 5th.
Parker Alexander lines up 6th. Logan Crest lines up in 7th. Steve Buchanan rounds up the 8th position. Philip Snipes 9th, and the top 10 position, Aaron C. Lee.
Justin Melillo lines up 11th. Sean Peckin right now lining up in 12th, and that's going to be a position we watch throughout the evening. That is the final transfer spot to the 400 from this race. Lining up in 13th is Octavio Rondoletto, Jeffrey McClintock 14th, and William Bovair in 15th.
16th is Michael Sturgill. 17th, Andy Trippiano. 18th, Justin Rowden. 19th, Zachary Triplett. 20th, Nick Tarabuck.
And that rounds out the starters for this heat race. The pace car pulls off. The field comes into the starting zone, and there's the green flag. We are off for heat race number 1.
One thing to note as well is these cars have a limited fuel cell, and the range looks to be in the garage area somewhere between 23 to 25 laps.
So obviously we're looking at pit strategy is going to be a factor tonight. The question will be, do we make it to green flag pit stops, or does that come under a caution flag? Right now, everybody, there's already some jostling in the middle of the pack. Very close call there. Everybody's able to keep it going. Looked like it all started with the 018 of Alec Martinez, and the caution has come out as that stack-up has resulted in a few cars going around at the tail of the field.
Looks like Jeffrey McClintock is involved. The 48 of Octavio Rondoletto is involved.
Seeing the 21 car of Sean Peckin driving away with quite a bit of damage.
Like you said, that all started with that checkup. I believe Logan Crest got turned sideways from a bad bump on the back straightaway, went to the grass, and then the ensuing checkup, a bunch of other cars were involved further back in the pack.
Get halfway into the first lap before this starts happening. You see everybody shaking around trying to keep it straight, and they keep bouncing off of each other, and finally it gets to be too much.
I couldn't see what started it. It looked like there was a blue car that got turned into Logan Crest there. And then beyond that, the 199 and 48 get together from a bump from Jeffrey McClintock, and it takes out about 3 cars. I don't know if the 3 car got through there with damage or was able to netcode through, but it looks like 3 to 4 cars have significant damage here on the first lap of the heat number 1.
Yeah, it looked like everything was going to be okay there, and it was just one more shot from the back end coming from the 69 of McClintock right there into, I believe that was Peckin in the 199, and that was just one bump too many. I mean, they got away with a lot up until that point. It was almost amazing that it took that long for it to fall apart like it did.
Yeah, I mean, as we ride on board there with the Ackery triplet, amazing job by him to slow his car down and avoid that accident. It looks like the 3 car was involved, and he is probably going to need to take a fast repair. Number 3 car of Michael Sturgill as well.
I believe it's just one fast repair available to these drivers. You can see the damage on that 3 car certainly was involved. A lot of damage on that 3 car. So you're right. That's going to be fast repair territory right there.
Also, the number 018 of Alex Martinez on pit road with damage. Not significant, though. He may be able to get away with just a standard repair.
Yeah, seeing about a half dozen cars elect to get into the pit lane here. I'd imagine most, if not all of these guys are addressing damage to their vehicles. The majority of the field, though, has remained on the racetrack. We were just starting to talk about fuel mileage will be a factor. At least there will be a pit stop that needs to happen. We are far from being in the range with this caution, though.
Yes, I mean, as we said, about 23 to 25 laps is the range in this tank. So we'll need to get at least halfway into this race before we see them stop and be able to cover both the green, white checkered and a green flag run to the end. I was going to bring up if we're going to see green flag stops, but if this race continues on this way, that may not be an option, and we may end up seeing a fuel mileage race. If we get a caution, let's say, lap 17, lap 18, it can very easily become a fuel mileage race here.
It can very easily become a fuel mileage race, and there's 12 positions that are going to make it into the field here, and we had 20 start. So there's room to be safe in this race, but you might find somebody who opts for track position over, hey, if there's a caution with 15, 20 to go, instead of opting for that safe amount of fuel, trying to maintain that track position, because you don't want to be in the middle of the pack, and you don't want to be one of these guys that just ended up on the back foot half a lap into this race, especially when we get down to the end.
And that is the big unknown. We really don't know how hard or how easy it will be for these drivers to carve their way through the field. It may be the case where track position really doesn't matter and you're able to move through the field freely, but it could also be the case where track position is very important and you'll want to be at the front the entire time.
And as much as there's 12 out of 20 advancing, and that sounds like it'll be easy to do, the downfall of finishing 13th or worse is very severe, because as it's drawn up, when we have that last chance qualifier on Sunday evening, there's only going to be 3 guaranteed spots available in that race, and there could be as many as 30 people starting in that race. So you're going to want to do everything that you can to safely finish in the top dozen in this heat, tomorrow night's heats 2 and 3, to make your way into the main event, because that last chance qualifier is going to be a doozy.
Certainly. I mean, it's a very, very interesting event every year. It's, you've got less than 10% of the field making it through to the big show. So it's imperative that you, A, give yourself peace of mind, and B, avoid the last chance qualifier on Sunday.
Yes, because that would certainly be a very stressful position. We've taken 1 to go here. The field's working its way into turn 3. They'll be taking the green flag when they come back around. Sean Butler is going to lead them from the point, and it looks like Garrett Lowe is going to be lined up to the outside of that number 32.
Just looking down on pit road as a damage report, it looks like the 018 of Alex Martinez elected not to take his fast repair. He has a small amount of rear bumper damage still. And number 3 car of Michael Sturgill is missing his front end and has elected to bet on caution flags and has not chosen his fast repair here on lap 4.
That may be a very optimistic strategy. We'll see how it goes. Field works their way into the restart zone, and the green flag comes back out. We are underway once again in heat race number 1. A good jump on that bottom line, led by the number 32 of Butler.
Inside line prevailing into turn number 1 as the outside lane begins to form. There's a big gap behind McKissick back to Logan Kress that now Garrett Lowe's going to drop into, and the inside lane will prevail off of turn number 2.
Looks like everybody's trying to file their way down into that bottom line right now. They like who's at the point there. Sean Butler, pretty notoriously a very prolific plate racer on the iRacing simulation. A lot of trust in that bottom line at the front. But Leading the charge on that outside line right now, Parker Alexander, a student of the EA Howe School of Drafting, trying to get something going with Philip Snipes.
Yeah, that's going to be the advantage here. I mean, Philip Snipes and Parker Alexander have both raced in WINSTEL together for a very long time, and they know how to draft with each other. Even though we don't really know much about this current package, they have confidence in one another, and that really counts when you're trying to make your way through the field.
They have confidence on that outside line, but they have ground to make up. Butler, McKissick, Lowe, Anton, and Kress right now have been able to break away on that bottom line. Now Kress at risk of falling into the clutches of that outside line as it tries to make something happen.
Yeah, as they go through 3 and 4, it looks like the two lines are about even here as they head through 3 and 4. Logan Kress gets a small advantage being pushed by the number 13 of Steve Buchanan.
Yeah, we're seeing a 4-car breakaway of those cars that have been able to get settled out. And back here where they've been side by side, they are just brawling with each other, trying to sort out who's going to get ahead here a little bit and chase down that front 4.
We're seeing again, Logan Kress has not been able to really take hits from behind from other cars. And we saw in the start he got very excited on the back straightaway and likely saved his car. Going into one there off the bumper of Steve Buchanan, he was very, very squirrely.
You can see a nudge, a push. We're riding on board right now as they try to build some momentum on that bottom line. Looked like it was handled a little bit better on the back straightaway that time, but Parker Alexander was able to get a little bit of ground on that outside line, leaves Philip Snipes, and covers up that bottom line.
Yeah, so far it looks like they're electing to ride around and just try to take it patiently. You know, the top 5 to 6 are probably feeling pretty safe right now. You know, they really don't want to risk their chances of falling back into the clutches of the top 12 or getting involved in an accident.
There's some risk management that should be happening at this stage of the race. There's 33 laps to go, and as we've been documenting throughout this early portion of the race, there is a pit stop in the mix. So what should be a high priority, I would think, is positioning yourself with some buddies that you can make a pit stop with and get off at the same time and maintain the draft. For the second half of the race, there's a major checkup on the bottom line there. Everybody fortunate to keep going. Steve Buchanan with a major checkup from the bottom line in that 13 car.
I'm not sure if his car has blown a motor or if he has knocked it out of gear, but something has happened to the 13 of Steve Buchanan.
Some very heads-up driving by everybody around the 13 and by Buchanan himself, able to get onto the apron and hold it down there after diagnosing that, hey, something is going wrong with this machine. So we continue underway, but as you can see on your screen, that really jumbled up the field and got everybody to single file themselves and try to regain their bearings.
Yeah, to see again, the 32 of Sean Butler, followed by the 24 Brandon McKissick. Parker Alexander and Philip Snipes have caught the lead draft here, the lead 4 cars. And it looks like the rest of the field is starting to catch them. And it will be interesting to see here, once they do catch them, if they're able to either make a run to the outside or if they elect to ride in line and hold their position in the top 12.
Yeah, it looks like we got some double file action happening a little bit further back around 8th position. That's Logan Kress, who's surrendering it right now to Zachary Triplett working on the outside. As these guys do that, though, the front 7 are going to try to build a little bit of a cushion over them, a larger cushion than they already enjoy.
Yeah, it's hard to tell if the 30 of Kress has damage, but he lost a lot of ground there in turn 1 and 2. I don't know if he was trying to let them down in line in front of him or if he has a problem down there in the bottom. We saw the 13 of Buchanan and Kress make contact when Buchanan pulled his car off track. I don't know if he has damage or his car is just not pulling up the speed. We do see a little bit of a crinkle on the right front, so that may be the issue here with Logan Kress.
Yeah, at the moment, Kress continues, though, hoping that maybe he can make it to a pit stop and keep a fast repair in his back pocket for the maybe more tumultuous portion of the race, should that come to pass. But at the moment, it does look like it's knocked a little bit of speed out of that 30.
Yeah, the 30 again with a push from Nick Terabike is struggling to catch the cars ahead of him, so it looks like that car has lost a lot of speed.
And for all of these cars in this frame, if that continues, that's going to really raise the blood pressure, especially as the laps wind down, because with that issue, Kress is now the 11th place car, and you can see some of the impatience and, the desire to get going, because it's suddenly becoming a, 20 cars racing for 12 positions race into a 6 or 7 cars racing for 2 positions race if they don't find a way to get a little bit quicker and catch up with the rest of the pack.
Yeah, again, I mean, these drivers are not going to be very patient. Logan Kress is currently 11th. Nick Terrebuck is 12th, the last safe car. He's going to be feeling very, very antsy with these guys behind him, and he's going to want to get around Kress. You saw him up down the front straightaway last time by. Tried to go to the apron coming to the start-finish line. A very risky move, and it tells you that these guys have a lot on the line, and they're really trying to push forward.
If you're wondering about any of the folks towards the front of the pack, you're not missing anything as we watch these guys try to get organized. They are staying single file at the moment, trying to work together and build up a large enough gap so the pressure is eased when they come in for a pit stop, especially if that should happen under green. A race could be, made or lost with that pit entrance and exit, depending on how it's executed. And having a second or two of leeway makes it so that these guys can be a little bit more conservative entering without giving up their chances of being in the 400.
Yeah, one of the most challenging aspects of Daytona 2007 is the pit road entry. It's very bumpy on the apron, and as well, there is a second cone on the left that most tracks don't have, where you must be between. We've seen many people throw away a WINSTEL 400 by being to the left of that cone and getting a pit entry penalty.
Yes, that's absolutely a tricky element to this racetrack in particular, and something that these guys, especially the ones that are feeling safe and secure in their positioning, need to remain mindful of as we get ready for pit stops. Which, on that note, as we work the 14th lap of this race, it won't be long. It'll just be a handful of laps before we're within range. The question will be, do you feel better off short pitting and getting that pit stop out of the way, or staying out on the track and trying to make good time? That's not happening with this group right now, though. They are really jostling with each other.
Hearing on the radio, actually, Logan Kress is offering the pit this time. He's trying to pull the drivers that he's with. We see the 018 of Alec Martinez. Now we see Nick Terrebuck hop out of line. These guys are all trying to get around Logan Kress. So it looks like there may be a group of about 3 cars going to pit road this time by.
Yeah, I would expect from Kress that's an aggressive, early pit stop to try to address the damage to that number 30, because obviously the car is being affected, and he'd rather have 25 laps to be close on the fuel, but have a fresh race car, or at least a repaired race car, than continue at the pace that he's been going at.
Yeah, as we see the cars just kind of blow around him on the outside. His car is very, very hampered, and I feel like if he falls to the back of this pack, he may be in jeopardy of losing the draft. So we see Lewin Boyksivert with a very aggressive move to the inside as well.
Yeah, but they flashed by the pit road entry that time and continued on for another lap. So we'll see what comes to pass as far as the pit strategy goes. But the 29 of Terrebuck, the 018 of Alec Martinez, and now a couple more cars, Peckin and Rondoletto, clearing that 30 car. And I'm guessing that Kress wanted somebody to take the offer and pit with him, and he has not found any friends so far. Now he's at the tail end of that pack, is going to have to hope that he can hold on to their draft at the very least.
Yeah, importantly, this means he is now outside the top 12. Currently 12th, the last transmission, the 018 of Alec Martinez. Crucial for the cars behind him who were trying to get around Kress. They have gotten around Kress and caught back up to these top, to the 11th and 12th place cars, and they are still in the fight for transfer position.
Yes, but it's going to be pretty intense final half of this race for those cars that were in the mix with Kress, because Nick Terrebuck in 11th position there, about 5 seconds behind the leader. It's another 2 seconds up to 10th place, so there's a large gap, and as long as everybody's able to get on and off the pit road clean, which is certainly no guarantee, but if that happens, everybody in the picture right now is who you're looking at racing for 2 spots. 6 cars racing for 2 spots.
Yeah, just checking lap times here at the line. Zachary Sherpilt leading the 8th, 9th, and 10th place line ran a 47.259. Nick Tarabuck ran a 47.334, so that back line is not as organized as those front three are, and they are not going to be catching them to keep going to the pace they are. We'll see what they do again at the line here.
And the interesting thing is, as you can see, that is just 3 cars versus 6 cars, but, you know, as you'll note, those final 2 in that group are now losing touch with the rest of their group as they go side by side with each other. That doesn't get you into the transfer spot, and it doesn't get you any closer to the rest of the field. So you really got to weigh what the benefit is of jumping out to the outside if you're in this group right now.
Again, we see Nick Tarabuck ran a 47.375 there that last lap. Zachary Triple with a 47.280. They're losing about a tenth of a lap by not being organized and pushing properly in that last transition pack.
And speaking of losing time, Logan Kress, you saw there entering the pit lane in the number 30. He'd lost touch with the rest of that group that had previously been with him. Opts to come into pit road and take his lumps as they come. Going to need a caution for that 30 car, I would suspect.
Yeah, he's going to require caution to make it back into this field. As such as well, looking at the 3 car of Michael Sturgill, he has now gone 1 lap down and will require caution and a lucky dog to have a chance to fight for this fight for his transfer position.
Yeah, and Sturgill is going to hope that whatever happens with Logan Kress, he gets a caution 1, and 2, Kress is able to maintain lead lap position should that caution come out. A lot of guys out here hoping for a caution, including, I would say, the 11th and 12th place cars of Tarabuck and Martinez, because they're in, but they've got 4 people right behind them that will definitely be aggressive if it comes down to just this group at the end of the race. They'd like to have a caution so that they have a little bit more cars to race with and opportunity to give a little bit of buffer room between themselves and that last transfer spot.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they are safe for the time being, but everybody in that pack is gunning for their position, and they cannot feel safe.
Absolutely, and something to note as the laps tick away here and we get closer to pit stop, something to keep in mind, especially when we get to the waning laps. Everybody right now is being very polite for the most part and running on that yellow line. The yellow line is not a boundary for the WINSTEL 400 and WINSTEL 400 Speed Weeks like it is in real life racing. That yellow line, drivers can go below it and try to advance their position. They just have to tidy it up by the time they get to the corners. So if we find that the outside line is not providing much opportunity to get going down lower and lower than the guy in front of you is going to be an option. And I would suspect if you're Martinez, if you're Tarabuck, you're going to have to be watching that left side mirror on the driver's side for people diving to the inside if we get to the closing laps and everything stays the way it is right now.
Yeah, and the thing is, too, I mean, a lot of these drivers have not ran WINSTEL competition before or are not regulars. And they are not used to the no yellow line rule, so they will be doing this for probably their first time.
Meanwhile, our 3-car group here right now, not sure how they've gotten discombobulated, but this is going to allow that group that we've been documenting to possibly make up a little bit of time.
They need to be within about 1 second to start catching their draft, and it looks like if they don't get reorganized here, they are going to catch them. I don't know if they decided to swap it up because they felt like they were losing time with the 07 of Zachary Triplett out in front, or if, you know, maybe Jeffrey was overheating in his fast pro shots machine, but it looks like this last group is going to catch them here, or at least catch the number 07 of Zachary Triplett here within the next couple of laps.
Yeah, the way that whatever it was that precipitated that action, it was not executed as efficiently as it could have been, and you could see the 07 of Triplett struggling to get back up with the duo that he was previously leading, and that's just helping that larger group behind them catch it. I mean, give it some time and it'll be true. It's not just yet, but it's only a matter of time before these 6 cars catch up with those front 3. But pit stops, very, very busy right now. Everybody making the decision to pit right now. We have the 00 around, entering the pit lane, able to get it gathered back up and not lose everything, but certainly a lot of time lost there.
Again, execution on pit road is going to be very important. We just saw the 07 of Zachary Triplett miss his box and have to back up. That's going to cost him severely. I saw the cone go flying. We may have someone with a black flag for hitting that cone on pit entry. We may have speeding penalties on pit entry. As you see the front cars leave pit road, and the back of the field moving off of pit road now.
Yeah, as long as there's no black flags, the folks that you're seeing on your screen right now, barring a caution, they are in very good shape. The drama is in the back half of the pack, especially for those that are around that 12th position. And we see the 48 sitting on pit road for an extended amount of time. I would have to think a penalty is at the cause of that.
I'd have to believe so. No matter what sort of strategy you went with, it wouldn't take that long to go through pit road. And it looks like at the fight for transfer position, Alec Martinez has moved away from Nick Tarabuck in 13th. They may have played this right and gotten away from it to where they feel comfortable if there's no yellow.
It'll be interesting to see. Just about everybody elected to come in at the same time. Two exceptions, the 47 of William Bovair and Andy Trupiano there in the number 7. They come in the second time around relative to everybody else. It'll be interesting to see if a clean pit road yields positive results for these two, or if not having the draft proves to be more punishing.
Yeah, so kind of let scoring kind of re-update here. We'll have to take a look at who's in and who's out when we come back across the line. We'll see the front pack going through into turn number 3 and 4.
Yeah, something that's certain at the moment. Sean Butler, who has been at the point for most of, if not all of this race, continues to enjoy the advantage at the front of the pack as they come around to complete this lap. Garrett Lowe slotted in behind him. McKissick, Parker Alexander right there going to be scored 4th as the scoring updates, and Connor Anton in 5th. So those 5 have been running in that position for most of the evening, and looks like they were able to get a clean on and off pit road sequence there.
Yeah, now we see Nick Tarabuck is in the 12th transfer position. Andy Trupiano has fallen back to him, as we see in the scoring, so they are fighting with about 3 or 4 cars for the transfer position.
And I documented that top 5. It gets a little bit messier behind there. We have Jeffrey McClintock in 6th, but no help. We have Philip Snipes and Justin Malello 7th and 8th, but it's just the 2 of them. We have William Bovair in 9th and 10th, or excuse me, William Bovair in 9th, Alec Martinez in 9th and 10th, but it's just the 2 of them. And behind them, there's 5 cars that are currently organized, led by Andy Trupiano. So we might see a few of these groups accordion back together as these laps wind down, and the intensity is only going to pick up as the laps erode away and the opportunities to advance from non-transfer to transfer position reduce.
One thing to note here too, Logan Kress did not lose a lap in this pit exchange. He has caught onto the back of this last pack here in 15th on the lead lap with a fresh race car. He played his strategy right. He knew his car was damaged. He pit early and was able to catch onto the back part of the lead group and ride with them until the rest of the field stopped. And he now is back in contention to possibly transfer his way back into this race.
That is an excellent catch that you have there, because it looked like things were pretty dim for the 30 without a caution coming out. But now Kress, as you mentioned, has caught up with this group, and if they're able to catch some more cars, the odds increase. But at the moment, the transfer spot is just 2 cars ahead.
It does look like the 7 of Andy Trupiano in 11th is going to catch the 10th place car of Alec Martinez and William Boisevert, and it will become about a 7 to 8 car race for the transfer position.
Yes, I would have thought that possibly Malillo and Snipes in 7th and 8th would be on the table as well, but they have just gotten to the rear end of the 69 of Jeffrey McClintock. If those 3 can get organized, we saw a 3-car group was able to make pretty good pace before the pit stops. If they could stay organized, they can keep themselves safe. But at the moment, as you said, that 5-car group has become 7 as they've caught Bovair and Martinez.
Yeah, I mean, as these guys start racing side by side and, start duking out for that transfer spot, I don't think they'll end up catching the 3 cars ahead of them. They'll probably, start losing time at that point. So I think Justin Malello on forward are probably safe at this point. This is the pack that's going to determine the transfer position.
Yeah, we're coming around to 11 laps to go, and there's a good 3 or so seconds between Bovair and Malillo. There would have to be something to happen in that 3-car group to make them fall back. I would say that you're correct. The battle is from 9th on back at this point. barring a caution, that is.
We are starting to see the guys up front starting to move around a little bit more. They are currently safe, but these guys are racers. They want to win this race. We may see them get dicey here coming to the final few laps.
Boy, oh boy, could you imagine going from being as safe as these guys are, enjoying what amounts to 10 seconds of cushion on the transfer spot, and letting that competitor's fire drive you into something that may not be in your best interest and end up in the LCQ. That would be pretty dramatic, but these are some pretty skilled racers at the front. I think they might be able to put on a show without jeopardizing themselves, but hey, you never know. This is where I think we're going to see push come to shove in a big way, especially as we get within 5 laps to go. We're already seeing Crest has done that a couple times, goaded somebody into going to the outside thinking that they're going to get a push from them and just slotting up one more position just a little bit closer to transferring into the main event.
Yep, all it takes is just one spot at a time, and he's right now at 13th, knocking on the back bumper of 12th. The first position away from Nick Tarabuck.
Yeah, and the victim of that maneuver this past time was Triplet, who, just 10 laps ago was sitting pretty in the top 10 and had quite a cushion. Now finds himself at the back end of this pack and is going to have to do some work in these final 9 laps if he's going to advance through this heat. As we've been documenting, the bubble position is 12th, and it's that pink and black car, the 29 of Nick Tarabuck, that occupies that spot. You're riding along with Logan Kress right now, who has overcome a little bit of adversity so far in this race to just be in this position, knocking on the door, transferring through. But that 29 of Tarabuck wants to be able to advance, doesn't want to let that 30 by, and I would suspect to do it in the best interest of the 29 is advancing forward. I don't think defense alone is going to make it happen.
No, I mean, there's 3 cars behind him who really are not going to be working with him, and Logan Kress has been very aggressive, as so is Nick Tarabuck. So at some point, Andy Trippiano is going to be on the table, and he's going to have to start moving his way forward to keep himself safe.
Yeah, and with just 12 miles of racing left, as that continues to wind down, that yellow line is going to become more and more tempting. It is not safe to just wrap that yellow line if they can't get a run on the high side. They can be braver and go down further, especially on this back straightaway where things open up. You really have to be able to cover up all corners.
Yeah, I mean, it adds a whole new dynamic, and it's something that most people don't really know how to handle, and it can be used very, very effectively to really either move yourself forward or to shuffle you out of line, surprisingly, and it can make or break your race.
As we mentioned before, at the front of the pack, things have stayed pretty orderly. They know that they're safe running where they are. The drama is from 9th on back, led by William Bovair here. This group of 7 cars, only 3 of them are going to advance. Excuse me. Yes, 4 of them are going to advance from this group of 7.
As we see the top 10 here, they have picked up another car, and they had picked up another car, and they look to be safe here with 7 to go. They've maintained that 3-second gap and continue to pull forward off that pack behind them as they get dicey.
Yeah, we're looking at the 48 of Rondoletto right now. Octavio was one of the ones sitting in pit road for an extended amount of time, presumably with a penalty. Things have not improved for the 48, struggling to find a drafting partner right now, running a lap down.
Importantly, though, he is the first car 1 lap down. If we do see a yellow in the final few laps here, he will get the lucky dog and have a chance to race here in the final few laps if there is yellow.
If we're going to have a caution, it's going to be at this transfer spot. Yes, you were just about to say.
Yeah, we see Logan Kress has gotten around Nick Tarabuck for the final transfer spot, and he is now in, and Tarabuck is now out. So Tarabuck is going to have to mount a charge here to get back by Logan Kress.
And behind Tarabuck, Triplet and Lee were going side by side with each other. Triplet inching a little bit closer to the transfer spot, but they got to be careful about that. It seems to be very easy to build a gap that is insurmountable with the way that the draft is working right now, especially when the folks ahead of you are organized. But Tarabuck closing right back in on the back bumper of that 30, looking for a move or maybe waiting for the right time to make a move.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't want to make this move too early and give Logan Crest another shot at getting back around him. So he's going to time. I mean, although if I was him, I would have taken that run he had on the front straightaway. I don't know if he's going to have another shot of having that much momentum on that car ahead of him.
I would say if I'm anybody besides the 47, at this stage in the race, my objective would be to get as far forward as I can. So if somebody does make a move on me and I do go backwards, I've got more room to try to stay in the transfer spot or above it. As it is, though, they come down just 4 laps to go and a lot on the line. We're watching the battle for 12th on up. This is 9th place William Bovair, 10th place Alec Martinez, 11th Andy Trupiano, and Logan Crest 12th. If they ended right now, they would be advancing, and just on the outside would be the 29 of Nick Tarabuck, the 07 of Zachary Triplett, and the 00 of Aaron Lee. But we have 3.5 laps left to shuffle that up.
As you see back at the front, things have stayed pretty much the same as when we left them. The top 5 still single file, led by Sean Butler in the 32 machine.
So they're staying orderly as they take 3 laps to go. It's in their best interest to not get your back, but we've had some contact. The 29 goes around, gets into Triplet, and there's the caution that's going to change everything.
As we did it earlier, this also brings Ron DeLetto back into it. He was the first car 1 lap down. We're going to have a green-white checkered. Zachary Triplett and Nick Tarabuck both have damage. Unfortunately for Zachary Triplett, I believe he's already taken a fast repair. Or no, he avoided the first accident. So Nick Tarabuck and Zachary Triplett both have fast repairs available to them. It's going to be a wild shootout here to decide this the transfer spot into the Sunday's race. And how would you feel as one of these top 5 drivers who has spent the whole race basically just chilling, having an easy way in? Now they're facing a green white checkered to basically have to duke it out. They are no longer safe.
Well, certainly you're going to be sweating, but I especially feel for those guys in 6th, 7th, and 8th who weren't in the safest positions but had track position. As we see what caused this here, just bumped to the back of that 29, looks like got Tarabuck out of shape and up into the 07 a Triplet there coming off of turn 4. Looked like a shove coming there from Aaron Lee, just trying to make some time, get up with that group up there. And it just, at the same time, Triplet was coming down, maybe trying to side draft. I'm not sure, but they came together, certainly.
Yeah, it looked like 3 cars going for 1 hole, and, at that point, it's coming to 2 to go. Contact is made, and you have 3 cars going around.
Yeah, I mean, there's some desperate pushing here. There's some desperate maneuvering, trying to keep people behind to accept that push, and there's some desperate side drafting happening here because the laps are winding down. They're finite. And all 3 of these cars were on the wrong side of the cut line. So you see the results.
Yeah, we have, 2 cars who were now, probably almost relieved to be in this accident because their chances of getting back around Logan Crest were kind of looking slim there. They were going to have to reorganize themselves, and all 3 of them were going to have to fight Logan Crest for that transfer spot. And so this caution flag, even though they have damage and will probably have to take a fast repair, might just save them. I
think the 3 drivers who must be the most exasperated by that caution coming out possibly are 6th place Jeffrey McClintock in the 69, 7th place Philip Snipes in the 98, and 8th place Justin Melillo in the 53. I was starting to say it before we got into replays. They weren't in the safest positions on paper, but they had track position and then some that was going to keep them safe if this race concluded under green. Now, they're in the middle of the fray for this shootout to the finish, and they could very easily find themselves on the wrong side of the cut line, depending on how this restart goes.
Yeah, I mean,
that goes for everybody, yeah.
One thing as well, this restart here will be the point of no return. We will not see another yellow. If there's an accident, it will stay green until the checkered flag waves.
Yes, under the WINSTEL rules, once you reach the point of no return, that gets triggered by a green, white, checkered, or the white flag. Obviously, we're hitting the green, white, checker contingency. The green flag comes out, and you don't see a yellow flag. You see a white flag and then a checkered flag. So that's going to ratchet up the intensity for these guys. But it also means that depending on where you're positioned, you can't say, okay, there's been an incident, now I'm safe, the caution's about to come out. You need to stay up on the wheel for a full 5 miles here.
One thing to note as well that I'm thinking of, Logan Cress had to stop basically at the beginning of the pit window. With this green-white checkered, he may be tight on fuel. Everyone else pitted pretty much well past the window opening, so they should all be good. Logan Cress, I'd be worried about, though.
Yeah, and it sounds like Logan Cress is making efforts to save fuel under this caution period, but not electing to go into the pit lane to top off his gas. And it makes sense. Right now, Logan Cress is 11th on the correct side of the cut line. Certainly, if that 30 pulls into pit lane, it's going to be restarting in 16th or 17th, and that's quite a bit of ground to try to make up in 2 laps. Of course, it all goes away if that engine is starved of fuel, but that's the gamble that the 30's electing to take right now.
Luckily for him, we do get one to go this time by, so he will, eliminate 1 caution lap that, could have cost him if he had to go an extra lap. So hopefully he'll be good on fuel here and be able to race his way to the end.
Yeah, but to your point, we're working lap 41 right now, so we are going to go to lap 43 to conclude this event. That's 3 extra laps. Now, I don't think that the 30 pit at the very beginning of the window, so hopefully there's enough buffer room for Logan Cress's sake, but it'll certainly be something to keep an eye on. I suspect these next 5 miles, though, are going to have a lot to keep an eye on because there's a lot of desperate drivers and there's a lot of people who have a lot to lose if they fall below 12th.
It'll also be interesting to see how these front guys race, if they, try to single the file themselves out, or if they do try to go for the win and possibly cost themselves.
Well, and is there any maneuvering that gets somebody into greater trouble than merely staying in the wrong line? We've seen that in some races in the past where trying to get in the dominant line sends a car spinning. So they're going to have to be very particular with how they do it as the green flag comes out. 5 miles to settle it in heat race number 1. Butler with a strong restart on the bottom line, and they're all stacked up behind the number 32 trying to sort it out.
As we look back to the transposition, they've stayed about even. I don't think I've seen anyone make a wild move. As they come around to the back straightaway, though, the inside line will be able to go below the yellow line off turn number 2 as they come to the white flag.
Yeah, so far everybody's staying above the yellow line, just trying to stay in the slipstream of the vehicle ahead of them. We're starting to see some of the front cars cover up the top line. Now Philip Snipes is the first one to take advantage of that yellow line in his number 98. 3 wide through turns 3 and 4. Trying to get some room away from the transfer spot.
They're 3 wide right now for the transfer spot for 12th. Right now, as we come across the line, it looks like Andy Tripiano has it, maybe Triplet and Cress, as they are side by side, 3 wide for the transfer position.
3 wide for the transfer position. Cress comes ahead in 11th, and they are literally 3 wide for 12th as they work through turn number 1 into turn number 2. And there's a crash ahead of them. Cars going up and over and spinning.
Andy Tripiano involved. I saw William Boisever in the wall. Looks like Triplet's involved.
I'm not sure how many cars have been able to keep going if there's going to be a dramatic race to get refired and roll to still make this race. But the cars that have gotten through are looking pretty good at this point. As they come off at turn number 4.
A wild dash to the line here from Brandon McKissick, trying to get around Sean Butler. Sean Butler holds on to lead most of the laps here today, and Alec Martinez comes through the crash to finish 12th and lock his way into the WINSTEL 400.
Alec Martinez, the final one to transfer through. Andy Tripiano, who looked to be in decent shape before calamity ensued, the first one out.
Also, as we called out when that caution first came out, Ron DeLetto got that lucky dog, and he finished 11th and made it to that accident to transfer his way in. With about 3 laps to go, it looked like his race was just about over, and now he has locked his way into the WINSTEL 400.
We'll have to see if we can get a look at a replay there to see what happened. Well, I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of frustration over that because it looked like that originated around the 9th position, and 12th was 3 wide, slogging with each other when this broke out. Oh, wow. That was a long way to come down. Yeah.
It looked like there was 2 things that happened there. It looked like, I believe, Aaron Lee came down and William Boyser had to check up. That cost him a lot of momentum, and the 10 machine the 10 machine comes down into his right rear with that checkup, and we see this calamity ensue.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the 10 of, or excuse me, the 00 of Lee was looking to get in line there and try to, get himself safe, but the little bit of checking up on the bottom took that completely out of play, and by the time Lee got down there, that resulted in a heck of a lot of contact and very consequential contact. I mean, obviously took those two out of the transfer. A couple more cars get spun around behind them, trying to maneuver around it, and Trupiano also caught up in it.
Yeah, very unfortunate for these guys who would race their way forward out of that. But that is, the nature of the beast. They were 3 yards for the transmission here as we ride on board of Ondiletto here as he barely makes it through this wreck.
Oh my goodness, just by inches, dodging cars spinning, cars flying, and see some people that he needed to get around plucked off at the same time. That really worked out. One driver's heartbreak is another driver's fortune, as it is. So here are your results from WINSTEL 400 heat number 1. 12 drivers are going to advance from tonight, the first of which is Sean Butler, who started first and finished right there. Brandon McKissick comes home in second, Garrett Lowe third, Parker Alexander slots in fourth, and Justin Melillo gets into the 400 with a 5th place finish.
Philip Stites finished 6th place, Jeffrey McClintock finished in 7th, Connor Anton finished 8th, Logan Kress overcame some bad luck early to finish 9th, and Nick Tarabuck fought the whole race to finish 10th.
In 11th position, we have Octavio Rondoletto, who, as you mentioned, was dead in the water before that last caution, ends up advancing by narrowly missing that crash. And here we have the duality of man. 12th, Alec Martinez on the right side of the cut line advances to the WINSTEL 400. In 13th, Andy Trupiano on the wrong side. Going to have to race through the LCQ if Andy's going to be in the WINSTEL 400. Zachary Triplett and Sean Peckin also in that boat.
Aaron C. Lee, William Boisevert, Michael Sturgill, and Steve Buchanan all were either involved in accidents or had to retire from the race early.
And Brian Cruz Monsivice, one of the main contributors to the purse for Speed Weeks for WINSTEL 400 activity, unable to get fired off the grid due to some technical issues. I believe we've got Sean Butler waiting to talk to us after winning heat race number 1. We welcome Sean into the booth. Sean, what did that race look like from your vantage point? It seemed kind of orderly for you. Hello, is this thing on? Hello?
There we go. We're on push to talk, but it was kind of a snoozer at the front of the field. Apologize to you guys. We're just kind of chilling up at the front, but I was just kind of sitting there hanging out, watching the broadcast up at the front of the field, watching everything happening behind us. But boring race from my vantage point, but it looked pretty exciting around the transfer spot. So at least we got that.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. We largely ignored you because you were in a good position and largely safe for most of the race. But I got to ask, when that caution came out with just a handful of laps to go, were you concerned, or did you still feel pretty assured in how you were driving tonight?
Well, I didn't want to see it, obviously. I mean, coming to 2 to go, we're like, all right, we just got to get back around. And then they're getting a little too close for the transfer spot. So we're kind of frustrated up there. But pretty much me, Brandon, Garrett, and Parker, we all had, and Connor Anton was up there as well. We pretty much all had the same mindset. Let's just, we're good right where we are. Let's just get to the end of this thing and get to Sunday, and they held true to that. They tried to make it a little interesting. I told them during the long green flag round, I'm like, if you guys want to race, with the white flag, I'm fine with it. But they all held to the task at hand, and were able to kind of put some distance between us and everybody, and get the job done. So good to see all of us, and get to the main event Sunday. And the job is, I don't want to say halfway done, but we're making progress.
Well, I would say from your vantage point, you talked about getting a little bit of racing in at the end of the day. We were talking before the green flag came out about how much the draft model has changed this week, and what that's resulted in for the setup changes that had to be made to account for it. Do you feel like you got a good approximation of what you're going to be dealing with for 400 miles on Sunday, or do you think you have a little bit left to learn with how orderly that race was?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point. I mean, I think the race was obviously too orderly to learn anything, because I don't think I had anybody to the outside of me all race except for restarts. So gotta put some practice in to get used to that. But not a whole lot we could take away from this race. And then I don't really know what the preferred lane is now, if the bottom's going to be the way to go or to run the top to get the speed down the straightaway. So going to have to find out before the race starts on Sunday. But yeah, definitely not a whole lot to take away from this one. So we'll just have to wait and see if they broke the draft model or improved it.
Well, certainly something for you to a problem for you to work through, but a good problem to have, because it comes by being locked into the show. Congratulations, Sean.
Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.
That's Sean Butler, winner of heat race number 1 for the WINSTEL 400. As we mentioned, led from the pole most of the race, and was able to safely get in with that top 5 that you're seeing in the slow motion replay here. They had a pretty tidy go of it throughout the race, but things got dramatic at that cut line, especially when that final caution came out.
Certainly, I mean, and as you know, as Sean said, you know, they don't really know what Cindy's going to bring for them, because they raced orderly. They decided to take it easy, so they still have a lot to learn coming into Sunday.
Well, this is just the first of 3 heat races to determine the majority of the field that will be taking part in the WINSTEL 400 on Sunday night. Heat race number 2 kicks off tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. Heat race number 3 shortly thereafter at 8:40 p.m. The top 12 from each of those 40-lap races will also advance. We enter tonight with 4 drivers locked in. We now have 16 by the end of tomorrow night. Let me do the quick math. We'll have 40 drivers locked in and just 3 spots up for grabs in that last chance qualifier. It should be pretty interesting. That last chance qualifier coming Sunday at 4:30 p.m. 30 laps with the top 3 advancing. And then the 10th annual WINSTEL 400 is going to be at 7:30 p.m. on Sunday the 16th, right here on FTF.GG, as all of those events I've just mentioned will be right here on FTF.GG, broadcasting all of WINSTEL 400 Speed Weeks. Again, $1,250 in prizes available throughout the WINSTEL 400 Speed Weeks. And 12 drivers tonight just got themselves a little bit closer to a chance at a pretty big payday with no entry fee. We have Alec Martinez waiting to join us here in the booth. We bring Alec up here. Alec Martinez, a pretty eventful race for you, and it ends on the right side of the calamity. You get that final transfer spot. Alec, what was that like?
I tell you, I've messed up a lot. Before the race, I took a nap, and I woke up 15 minutes before the race, so I was like, oh, shoot. And then I caused an incident on lap 1, forgot it was in a Chevy, so my bad to everybody who got in that. Then kind of just playing it safe, had some damage in the middle of the race, and then just kind of single file. And we kind of just didn't want to wreck the car or anything, and then the caution came out with 5 to go, so that made it interesting. And then under the caution, I went to change my song on Spotify, and it just went all over my screen, and I just went straight right, and I hit the wall, so I thought I was out there. And yeah, we're good. We made it through. Didn't lift on that last lap. Made it through the wreck. So we like to see. We're into the show, and we're gonna go try to win it on Sunday. Do I think I can? Probably not, but we're gonna try like heck.
Well, I really like the optimism. I will say, you're 16th going into turn 1 there on that final lap. I mean, how are you feeling, especially with all that mess in front of you?
Like cold trickle, man. Just didn't lift, and hoping for the hole that would open, and it did. Netcode saved me there, and got that spot over Andy. So I know that probably sucks for him and knocking him out, but didn't lift, and we made it through. Last spot, it was definitely more eventful than I would have liked it to be. So yeah, I guess you got to take the small gains, and sometimes you got to make it in a little crazy, and it gets uncomfortable, and you put in uncomfortable situations. You just gotta got to get in there. So I'm looking forward to seeing the race tomorrow and watching some of my teammates race tomorrow and seeing if they can make it in. So curious to see how they're going to race if they have more cars. So we'll see as we're going in. But we're locked in on Sunday. That's all that matters. And now we have a chance for the big prize and get to race with all these guys.
We asked Sean Butler, who won the race out front and had a pretty tame event from his seat. Do you feel like you learned anything for Sunday from tonight's race, the way that it played out, or do you feel like you're still you've got something left to learn, especially as you mentioned, only having a few minutes of practice coming in?
I feel like with more cars in the pack, more energy probably being transported, I feel like we could probably I think I could probably learn a little bit more, but I think we'll be able to run side by side. And obviously 160 lap race is different from a 40 lap race. So we'll see. There's going to be more cars. Be interesting to watch some of the races tomorrow, see if they're more racy and see what kind of moves we can all make. And I think today everybody was pretty much just playing it safe other than the transfer spot. So I don't know. We'll see. I feel like I kind of know what to expect and how the car is going to handle in the draft. And obviously, I think with more cars and more guys that are going to be aggressive coming to the end of that race, it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure we can probably run double file if we have enough cars on the outside. So it'll be interesting. Still, like I still need a little bit more, but that's what we have the race for on Sunday, and we have the race that you're going to broadcast tomorrow to watch and maybe learn a few things. But other than that, as the race goes on, we'll just have to learn there.
You were pretty modest when evaluating your chances for Sunday, but you're one of 16 drivers that's locked in. You have a chance.
Love to hear it. I love to hear it. You know, it's super speedway racing. Anything can happen. So love to bring it home a winner, but we're going to try and be interested to see what happens on Sunday.
I'll just advise address that Spotify playlist by Sunday, and that'll help your chances.
Yeah. Have some Eric Church going. It'll be nice.
That's Alec Martinez, your 12th place finisher and final transfer from tonight's heat race number 1. Alec will be racing in the WINSTEL 400 on Sunday night. So all in all, a pretty eventful race. The first of 3 that will lock in 36 drivers to join the 4 that were already locked in from earlier this week. And then we have the LCQ on Sunday evening to lock in 3 more. And then we'll have a full 43-car field racing for quite a bit of pride and quite a bit more money as well, all without an entry fee. So a lot of fun as we continue through the speed weeks for the 10th annual WINSTEL 400. Again, you'll see all the action right here on ftf.gg throughout the rest of the weekend. Tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m., heat race number 2, followed immediately by heat race number 3 at about 8:40 p.m. 40 laps for each of those events, just like tonight, with the top 12 advancing. The last chance qualifier at 4:30 p.m. on Sunday. These are Eastern time. Top 3 will advance from that 30-lap race. And then the 10th annual WINSTEL 400, 160 laps for 400 miles. That begins at 7:30 p.m. Again, right here on ftf.gg. I think at this point we'll wrap it up. An eventful race for sure for Emily Howe and myself, Tyler Head. So long from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. We'll see you tomorrow night for 2 more heat races.